Thorne Auto Campus in Canton for Northeast Ohio's largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Featuring Mazda of Canton and the award-winning crossovers, SUVs, and sedans. Lease a 2024 Mazda CX-5 for $239 a month, or get 0% financing for 36 months at Mazda of Canton. On the Kempthorne Auto Campus, now in the 4th generation of the Kempthorne family. Visit the Kempthorne Auto Campus today.
WHBC AM Canton, reliable as ever, powered by Friends and Family Credit Union. It's time to bring a friend into the family on News Talk 1480 WHBC.
Here is Bradshaw. Father to behind. Lynn Swann is open. Got it. Steeler touchdown.
That's got to be one of the great passes in Super Bowl history or in pro football history.
Firing downfield. Swann going after covered. And it's double. Swann catches it on a circus catch inside the Dallas 45-yard line. Gets up and goes inside the 40, down to the 37-yard line. The ball bounced into the air. Swann lying on his back, caught the ball in circus fashion.
Live from the studios of News Talk 1480 WHBC, it's Kenny and JT.
We're from the Sandwich, that great football team.
But he knows, right? I don't know if that's a laugh of enjoyment or, oh, no, not that song again. I'm not sure.
As a receiver, this is Lynn Swann. Was that a great pass or a better catch?
Well, either way, it works.
And was that a good song or a bad song?
It worked in Pittsburgh. They weren't playing it in L.A.
Oh, yeah, I can bet on that. We're happy to have in studio with us Pro Football Hall of Famer from the class of 2001 in town for the Hall of Fame residency program. Lynn Swann joining us. You look great. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing well. Good to be here. Good to be back in Canton. Good to be able to enjoy getting out in the community in the residency program. A lot of areas where we think the Hall of Fame can be beneficial and maybe extend some of the things we've done here in Canton. So, pleasure to be here, be a part of the program.
Trying to make it as feel like home as possible with the terrible towel and everything here for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. The terrible towel kind of grew, and Myron Cope, and most people know the story, and radio announcer, and he invents a terrible towel, comes up with it, and we wave it at the game, and it takes on and goes to a Super Bowl and takes on a life of its own. But we're getting ready to go out and play the Rams in California for the Super Bowl, and that's their hometown, right, more or less in Pasadena.
Right.
And we're getting ready to play them, and the Rams and other teams decide to come up with their own towels. Okay. All right, and so we bring the terrible towel out to Los Angeles and in Pasadena, and we're waving our gold terrible towels. Guess what color the Rams' terrible towels were? Gold. Because they're blue and gold. They made the same gold terrible towels. Nobody thought about a Rams towel. They thought all those flags, all those towels were the terrible towel. It's
not
crazy.
Smart on their part. So
yeah,
went with the blue towel, right?
Yeah, it didn't work out in their part.
The great Lynn Swann is with us in studio today. We're not happy to have you here. We're not thrilled to have you here. We're honored to have you here. And as former players, everybody looks up to number 88 in great ways here. But a couple of weeks ago in this process, and we're talking about the residency at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're actually honored to have one of your former teammates in, and Donnie Shell was in the house, and I had to ask the question. Because
ask Donnie the question?
Yes.
What question?
The question is this, and he told me that I had to ask you the same question because as not being the biggest Steeler fan like my partner Kenny here, I'm a Browns fan, I'm an Ohio guy, and you broke my heart more than one time in more than different uniforms too because you beat my Buckeyes when you're playing at USC, and you really terrorized the Browns when you played in the NFL.
Yeah, we lost to the Buckeyes one year.
But not when it counted in the championship game. So that really
we lost in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, but they didn't count.
Yeah, for a national championship.
Right.
Hey, Randy Gradishar is getting in this year, too.
I've got that national championship ring with
Thanks
me.
a lot, man. I appreciate you. Just rub that in a little bit. But I was like, okay, so you went up against some really good defenses, but in my mind, the greatest defense was your own. So I asked Donnie Shell, what was better, the Steeler offenses with you guys or their defenses with him? And he said,
the Steeler defenses.
Of course he said the Steeler defense. Of course he said the defense. Donnie's not going to say the offense because he didn't play on the offense. But, when you run against your own defense every day at practice, right, they know your plays as well as you do. And so they cheat.
he's a
Cheat
cheater
code.
now.
Yeah,
we get him on the phone. Where's this Donnie Shell?
Call him up on the phone. So they know the plays we're going to run, and they cheat. They kind of cheat to where the ball's going to go. I remember Donnie hit John Stallworth in practice. And Donnie, John came across the middle, and Donnie lit him up like it was a Super Bowl game. And John's on the ground looking up. And John tells the story. He said, he felt something strange, and something on his face. And he took his two hands and two fingers, and he put it under his nose, and he rubbed the upper lip, and he looked at his two hands and realized that cold, wet thing he felt was snot. That Donnie had knocked the snot out of John at practice. At practice. And John got up and says, Donnie, what are you doing? Donnie was very serious. Donnie said, well, look, man, I'm trying to get ready for the game. Coaches always say, you play like you practice. I'm practicing like I'm going to play in the game. And I'm practicing on you. You either get up and get at it, or you get knocked down again.
Wow. Could you imagine that in today's game?
Oh, they wouldn't have.
No way, right?
At
they
practice?
don't even hit during practice.
Yeah, they don't anymore.
No.
What about Lambert?
What about Jack?
I mean, would he go after you guys in practice too?
No.
He seemed like he was 100 miles an hour all the time.
Jack would let you know he was there.
Okay.
So you catch a pass coming across the middle, and Jack might take his hand, and after you grab the ball, he might take it and just kind of have his arm fly by your face mask.
Nice.
Yeah, just in case you're wondering where he was.
I could have if I had to, right?
Yeah.
One of those messages.
Yeah.
Right? Lynn Swann in studio with us. Happy to have him here as part of the Hall of Fame residency program. I grew up Western Pennsylvania, so all 4 Super Bowls. I went to all the AFC Championship games leading, to the Super Bowls. So diehard Steeler fan, great memories as a kid. And of all, in our family, we had a bunch of birthdays that always landed around the Super Bowl. So we would have family birthday parties and Super Bowl parties. And there were so many guys that everybody had a different favorite player. And we were looking at your draft class, 74. You, the first pick in that draft class. Lambert was round 2. Stallworth was round 4. Mike Webster round 5. And then Donnie Shell, who we were talking about, undrafted free agent, right? So there's 5 guys in 1974 that impacted the Steelers dynasty that are all Hall of Famers. Did you know when, let's say, you're practicing against them, playing against them, you win a Super Bowl or 2, could you tell that that draft class was something special and that you might all end up here in Canton?
Well, we thought we had a chance to be contributors to the team when we first came to the Steelers. One, because veterans were out during training camp that year. They were on strike.
Right.
So we got all the reps. So we knew the program, we knew the system by the time the veterans came in. So that gives you a certain amount of confidence.
Right.
All right. So all the guys you mentioned were out there playing like first team. And of course, Donnie Shell, they didn't know what they had in Donnie Shell until, Donnie began to develop. He was first special teams before he became a starter. But, we began to realize that we could play this game after the first game of the season. We realized we could play. And we could, we might have a chance to have a career and not a short one in the NFL. But no, we didn't think of ourselves as being future Hall of Famers. And we thought that, certainly Jack Lambert got catapulted into a position where, you look at him and the way he played that first year. We lose a middle linebacker. He's the starting middle linebacker during the training camp and stays there, and as opposed to playing outside, and becomes a fixture there. And so now he's starting. John and I are playing second and fourth quarter. Other guys are kind of rotating in. Right. Webster is playing behind Mansfield, but getting a lot of playing time. But I think we knew, based on how we practiced every day, how we matched up with the other receivers, the defensive backs, and things like that. We had the confidence that we could play the game. And that's what you need in order to have success. Not that you're going to be the greatest player, not that you're going to be a Hall of Famer, but find out whether or not you can play this game.
Somebody knew what they were doing. The way they constructed those teams, it's amazing now to look back on it and say, okay, we won a couple of Super Bowls, but for us living in the shadow of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, when you're a Hall of Famer, we know about you, no matter where you played. So my question to you is this. I want to go before you were a Pittsburgh Steeler, and you're a kid from the East Coast, ends up at USC. We talked a little bit about this. How do you end up on the West Coast? Was that like a dream of yours to play on the West Coast?
No, it was, I was born in Tennessee, but my dad and mom moved out to California. I have two older brothers. They moved out to California when I was 2. So I spent all my summers in Tennessee going back as they did, driving back at first and then flying back until I was 12. And I started playing Pop Warner football in California. So that's how I ended up in California. And Pop Warner football, just because the other kids in my block were going out for it, and my older brother was going out for it, so I wanted to be with the big kids, and so I joined.
So we had
and
Tim
I was
Brown.
lousy.
Yeah, well, I want to get to something on that
So we
too.
had Tim Brown on, and he says, he's from Texas. He goes to Notre Dame. 53 scholarships were offered to him. How many scholarship offers did Lynn Swann have?
I have no idea.
Outrageous number?
Nah, I mean, look, there were, Stanford, Cal, Washington, Oregon, UCLA,
8 and 10 schools,
USC, Notre Dame. There are a couple of other schools. I wasn't interested in just taking a whole bunch of trips. And so, there are a lot of schools I said, I wouldn't go to. But keep in mind, in 1970, when I was being recruited out of high school, the SEC didn't recruit black athletes. So even though I was born in Tennessee, no, they didn't recruit me. Alabama's not going to recruit me. None of the schools in the SEC are going to recruit me. So there it was.
Limited it, and you made your choice. And I remember this again, growing up, reading about you and everything. You said you stunk in Pee Wee football, that you felt more comfortable dancing, and you took ballet and tap. So clear that up for, what's the true story behind that? Because I've read different versions of it.
The true story is that I've got this ring in my ear. I don't know if you can hear it. It's just a ring on my phone. Somebody's trying to rob my house or something. That's right. My wife has a shotgun. And she's home. But I'm out there, playing and just kind of doing my thing, and I'm not a very good athlete, the youngest of the 3 boys, right? And so I wanted to go out and play Pop Warner football, or I want to do stuff, but my mom doesn't want her baby boy to get hurt, right? In Tennessee in the South, you're not the youngest, you're the baby boy.
Okay.
All right, so they didn't let me go out and play all these games, so my mom wanted me to enroll in dance. So she put me in a dance class when I was in the 4th grade. So now I'm in dance class and taking tap and jazz. And so the girls were cute, and so I said, okay, I'll stay.
Right? Motivation.
Yeah, so I'm, tap dancing and a little jazz thrown in there, and there was no ballet at that particular time. And then I go out and try out for the Pop Warner football team when I was in the 7th grade. I get the last uniform. I look like the original, the bobblehead football player. The helmet's too big, shoulder pads are too big.
Right.
And so, but I was there playing, and so did that for a couple of years. And then high school, I went to high school and I played freshman football, and I got cut when I went out for the varsity team to play my sophomore year. Then the guy broke his leg, and he was a receiver. The coach said, why don't you try playing receiver? I said, okay. So I came up with the varsity team, played wide receiver, and I made all conference my first year. And Jess Frey, the senior, he said, it's the best decision I never made. So there I was. And so it kind of took off from there.
You could have done? Emmett Smith wins Dancing with the Stars. They ever come knocking?
No, I would.
Man.
I had no idea, no intention of going on Dancing with the Stars.
So here's my question going to Super Bowl 10. We'll fast forward to that, right? First ever wide receiver to win Super Bowl MVP, 4 catches, 161 yards, a touchdown, 64-yarder.
Now, I think that is remarkable.
What's that?
4 catches for 160 yards.
40 yards a catch.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
With a team that doesn't throw the ball. They only threw me 5 passes.
And that's why when you go back and you look, there was one short one and the other 3 were the 64-yarder that was the touchdown that cinched it, right?
Yeah.
And they were all long passes. But the one, I mean, we argue which one's better, the one where you tip it to yourself, fall down and catch it, or the one on the sideline where you're able to keep both feet in bounds.
The one on the sideline is better because, as you recall, against the Raiders, they knocked me out of the game with a concussion.
Yep.
And I didn't know if I was going to play the game. So it's important to me to have a good start. And I think it was important to the coaches for me to have a good start. I certainly, from a standpoint of getting Bradshaw's confidence, if you don't have a good start, you're not going to catch all the passes. He's not going to throw it to you.
Right.
So, the first pass I said I got to catch. And so it was just that attitude. I got to catch it. He put it up there. It was high, the outside. I was able to get up and catch it, come back in bounds. And
and that's why I go back to the dance. Did dance, in a strange way, maybe help you with your body control?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. That was 1975 season, 76 Super Bowl.
Right.
That might have been the first back shoulder pass and catch.
Right. Really? Oh, wow.
So are you playing that game concussed?
No.
You were 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had it been 1 week between AFC Championship game and Super Bowl, would you have been able to play?
Probably not.
Because
the week I got down there, I mean, everything was just a bit off, and there was no contact or anything of that nature. But I was not sure I should or could play the game. But I kept feeling a little bit better, and so I said after Cliff Harris made his comments about what they would or would not do to the receivers of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was determined to have my way.
Yeah, and you did, and Jack threw him down in that Super Bowl, too, at one point with Roy Girella on a missed kick and everything. So there was plenty of back and forth on all of that. But going back to the AFC Championship game that year, Atkinson and Tatum both jacked you up illegally now. Back then, it was considered just football, right?
Yeah, or back then it just wasn't seen. Okay. I mean, the referees on the field didn't see it or anything of that nature, and so there was no repercussion whatsoever.
Yeah, and I remember because we were all, what is he going to play? And then you go out and you have your greatest game ever. Mm-hmm. So mentally more focused in that game because you thought you had to be, or no, it was just another game?
Look, I think the focus was always there. But, again, if you're playing wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're not going to get 10 passes thrown to you in a game. Okay, the word targeting was not a part of the vernacular in 1975 or 6 when you're playing football in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you were on the team, if you were playing for the Chargers, the vernacular of being targeted was not there. So the fact that I got 5 passes thrown to me, that's not a big number, okay? Washington knocked down one out pattern, and so that was one I didn't catch. But you go on with the attitude, if you're me or you're John or any receiver for the Steelers, you don't care where the ball is thrown. You don't care how Bradshaw throws it. If he throws you a pass, you better catch it because, he may not throw it to you the next time, and there won't be that many. And so you just kind of go for it. So it's always the attitude. You got to catch it. It doesn't matter where it is. Not going to be a perfect pass. Catch it. It's not going to be right to you. Find a way to get to it. One hand, 2 hands, jump for it, dive for it, reach out for it, reach over the guy's back and get it. Study game film. Know where the defensive back, what his weaknesses and strengths are. Use it against him. Get open. And have Bradshaw throw you the ball. Make the catch. That's it. Pretty simple stuff.
Lynn, I'm sure we could talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Rooney family, and Chuck Noll. But for me as a coach, what made Chuck Noll so great? And what was his career span? 22, 23 seasons?
Yeah, he was a teacher. And he also taught the assistant coaches how to coach the game. So from that standpoint, I think that was his greatest attribute. I don't think at times Chuck was necessarily the greatest game day coach that he would change what he was doing. But Chuck would listen to people and take their input and then make a decision. My rookie year, we're playing against the Raiders, AFC Championship game. I tell the coach, I got to play. It's third and 7 for a touchdown, 3rd and goal.
Okay.
We were at 1st and goal. Mm-hmm. Chuck calls a play, they're running the ball, giving the ball to Franco. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
So I'm on the sideline going, like this little kid, Chuck, I got to play. So Chuck says nothing to me, doesn't pay attention to me, runs the ball a second time, Nothing. I go, Chuck, I got to play. I got to play. And he didn't even ask me what the play was. He said, all right, go in.
Come on.
So I go running in. I grab John. We go running in. You get in the huddle. I tell Terry, I said, Terry, full right split, 42-eye. And so it's a slant pattern. And I had studied the film and said I can beat the corner on a slant pattern. He's susceptible to it. He's been beat by other guys before who were not quite as fast as I was. And I wasn't the fastest, but fast enough. And so ran the route. Terry threw the ball, caught it, touchdown. We go ahead. We win the game. We go to our first Super Bowl.
Wow. And we often heard about Terry calling his own plays, right? Mm-hmm. Today you got the helmets and everybody's signaling the plays in and the quarterbacks get the play. How much of it was Terry? How much of it was you or John coming up with ideas and that happening with the offense?
We all do it, but, that's the way it should work. The offensive line blocks a certain way against a certain defense. The offensive lineman can tell you better what they can and can't do against that team based on the talent that's over there. Who's quick, who's not quick, who's strong, who's not strong, that kind of thing, and where the weakness might be. And then understand their scheme. And they can give that to the line coach when they're sitting in meetings. The line coach can see it and he can pick it up, that kind of thing. So you don't depend on your coaches to know everything and to see everything. You're the player. You're out there. You're doing it every day. What are your ideas? How do you think you best attack this team? And so we constantly did that because we're constantly looking at film.
Lynn Swann is our guest, and you're a class of 2001 Pro Football Hall of Famer. But in my mind, you're also a broadcasting Hall of Famer. Your career spans so many different levels. You broadcast Olympics. You worked at ABC Sports. You even hosted, I looked this up because you hosted To Tell the Truth, which was one of my favorites. Anthony Anderson was hysterical in that show, I thought. What do you, if you had a favorite moment in football, obviously we're all going to probably agree, Super Bowl 10 MVP. But as a broadcaster, what's your favorite moment?
Boy, I thought I had some pretty good moments. I would say, for me, covering events in wide world of sports, were the epitome of broadcasting, where you get to be involved in production a little bit more in terms of what goes on the air, what you're doing. Doing the Harlem Globetrotters in Hong Kong, and going over to China, covering the Iditarod sled dog race in Alaska 4 consecutive years, doing rugby in London. Were all spectacular. World Cup weightlifting competitions in Australia. And then going over to the other side of Australia and Perth and, just kind of observing the America's Cup. So all of those things were exciting to me. Covering football, there's great games to cover, and fun to do. That I think my reports on the sideline, I think were a little different than what people were expecting. Being able to get insights and players to respond to you, that kind of thing, I thought were good. Working with Keith Jackson, doing the sideline of college football. Yeah. I did things, you're always trying to improve.
Right.
You say, well, what can you do to improve? So my mic was always on. Okay. So in college football, we developed a process with Keith Jackson and Bob Greasy where all I had to do is hit the switch on my transmitter and just turn it on, and I could speak. So it wasn't like they saying, well, now let's go to a report from Lynn Swann.
Right.
Now let's do the story from Lynn. So I would just pop it on, and I'd be talking about what's happening in the football game, something that I observed on the sideline for Bob and Keith to look at and kind of make it happen. So we basically had a 3-man broadcast, but it was 2 in the booth and 1 on the sideline. But anytime I wanted to come on, we could make it work. And I think we did that better than anybody.
It was phenomenal.
I don't think anybody does it today because I think it's harder for them to do it today. And you've got to know the game. And, not as many do.
That's just it for me. I mean, for me, I would imagine for you, it's easy to call a football game. The heck do you know about a dog race?
Yeah. Well,
Preparation, right?
Well, your preparation, in the sled dog race, you go up to Alaska, you get on the sled, they teach you about a number of different things, but you're covering. And it became, it was like Jim McKay's old Wide World of Sports or American Sportsman. It was the gamesmanship, the mushers, the drivers of the sled were dealing with. I mean, this was one musher we got to about a halfway point where most guys would take their mandatory 24-hour rest for the dog team, etc. But you have to, they have supplies brought in, and they build fires, and the river's running on two sides of this like peninsula that they're on, and that kind of thing, and it's frozen every other place you go to, and then everybody comes down there, and all of a sudden this white, forest becomes, this pristine scene becomes the home of 20 dog select teams and dogs going to the bathroom everywhere. and the mushers, they got to prepare food for the dogs. Okay, they got to build a fire, prepare food for the dogs before they prepare food for themselves.
Right.
And so they do all this. So I said to the guys, let's find a kind of a central spot. And says, why? I said, well, why don't we just build a big fireplace? I mean, build a big fire here, because the mushers are going to be doing their fires for their dogs and getting dinner. But what about them? And maybe they'll all come over, and because they don't have to build their own fire. And so, sure enough, we build this fire. We got wood stacked up, light the fire. The first mushing team comes down, then musher comes over, and all of a sudden we've got one of these great campfire scenes. All the mushers are standing around the campfire, and they're talking stories. They're telling the stories, like locker room stories,
right?
About this game, what's going on, and so and so and so and so. And I noticed a guy kind of slip away, just kind of quietly, just kind of walk away. He could have been going to the bathroom. Who knows? But I watched him, and he didn't come back. And so I quietly snuck away, and I knew where his sled dog team was. I walked back there, and I saw him. He was hooking up his sled dog team. So it's where people normally took their mandatory 24-hour stay. So somewhere he's got to stay 24. You could have taken the 24 hours your first day out.
Okay.
All right, but, that's not going to serve you well. But he felt his team was doing well, strong enough. So they're sitting around the fire. They're doing that whole thing. He's getting his team all hitched up. So I got the cameraman. I walked over and I said, just quietly get your camera, come back. So-and-so is leaving, and et cetera. So he comes over there, and, we turn the camera on, and they're putting little booties on the dog's feet and the whole thing because they run in the snow, and he's leading them out real quietly. Dogs aren't making a sound. The sled's not making a sound. He gets them out there, and we're following him, and we're following, and I talked to him, and so we got him on camera kind of quietly, responding. And then he gets out to a point, and it was just like this whole scene. He says to his dog team, real quiet, like, mush. And they leave the forest scene, and they head out into the frozen tundra.
Wow. The frozen tundra. Wow, mush.
Yeah. I love it. So I go back, and I'm sitting around the campfire again.
You didn't say anything?
Oh, of course not. My job is not to go. My job is not to go. So I'm sitting there, and so now the camera guys know, and the producer knows, and I'm sitting there, and just kind of like smiling, and we're all talking. Next thing you know, nobody says anything. It wasn't for like about 2 or 3 hours that he's gone. And somebody notices, hey, have you seen so-and-so? He goes, no, I haven't seen him. I went back there. His team's gone. What? What do you mean his team's gone? He's taking 24. No, he's gone. Now, by that time, what's your strategy? You've been there longer than he's been there.
Right.
He was there for maybe 3 hours, and he's gone. You've been there now 7 hours, and what? You're going to leave? 7 hours that you stayed there, then you still got to take the 24 somewhere.
Right? Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Interesting.
Too late.
Yeah, he was off and
Too
going.
late. He was off and going. He won it.
How about that? Wow. Lynn Swann in studio with us, part of the Hall of Fame residency program. Hall of Fame number? What's your Hall of Fame number?
201.
201. There you go. 2001, 201. That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
How did you find out? We always like to hear the stories about the phone call, the knock, when you found out you were going to be a Hall of Famer.
I didn't get a knock. It was a phone call, and I was actually in Tampa at the Super Bowl. I was staying at the Wyndham Hotel, and I was on the board of directors for Wyndham Hotels at the time. And so we had a group out for the Super Bowl. So I was with them. So I walked away from the group, went to my room, because they were going to announce a Hall of Fame inductees, and I didn't want to be up there and not make it and have people feel awkward.
Right.
Yeah, or me feel awkward. So went to my room, heard the announcement, and initially there were only 6 names. I didn't really hear my name. I said, I better wait and look and see what happens graphically. So they put up the graphics, and there's my name at the bottom, nice. Lynn Swann in the Hall of Fame. So then I went back upstairs, and all the guys were going hey, congratulations, So
you were the last class to get inducted on the steps of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
They moved it back into the stadium the following year, and it's still Fawcett Stadium before this beautiful Tom Benson Hall of Fame stadium. Your thoughts, and who else was inducted in that class in 2001?
Well, it worked out well, but I got to tell you, I was the last person, and they told me I was going to be the last person.
Keep the best for last.
For the induction speech. Well, being from Pittsburgh, a lot of people from Pittsburgh came down for the game. They didn't want me to go first and then have all the people in black and gold leave and walk out because, there weren't that many seats and, you were there. People can leave in the stadium and you have no idea if they're there or not, right? You don't notice it so much. But it was so hot, I felt compelled not to have a long speech.
Okay.
And so, when I got up there were a number of things. I know I planned to say a number of things and touch on a number of different things. But I touched on the other ones I thought were the most important. And then I touched on the fact that I felt John Stallworth should be in the Hall of Fame. And then I sat down and it was it. But our parents were out there, and the chairs were sinking into the asphalt because it was so hot. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Who was your presenter?
John Stallworth.
Oh, he was.
Oh, that's nice of you to have him present, and eventually the both of you end up in as teammates, greatest wide receiver tandem in the history of the National Football League. I might be a little biased, but anyways, but this guy, I'm looking at your numbers. You mentioned averaging 40 yards a catch in that Super Bowl. JT, great players show up big in the biggest game.
That's right.
And nobody did it better than him in 48, playoff games, 48 catches, 907 yards. That's 19 yards a catch every time he touched the football in his playoff career, 9 touchdowns. And in 4 Super Bowls, 16 catches for 364 yards, 23 yards a catch.
Wow.
In the Super Bowl.
That's the first time I heard that.
How about that?
Wow.
Come on, man.
I was pretty good.
You weren't bad, right? Because, I get non-Steeler fans. Well, he only had so many catches in the regular season compared to all the other wide receivers. He doesn't belong in there. I said, look not at how many catches, when he made them, especially in the postseason. And as you point out, when you have Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier, who both ran for 1,000 yards in one season, right? You're not going to get as many opportunities. So the ones that, like you said, are thrown your way, you better damn well catch them because you may not get any more.
Yeah, and John's on the other side.
Right.
He wants the ball.
Hey, Lynn,
I want the ball.
I want the ball. Lynn,
we don't want to bend his ear too much in the middle. Bradshaw might not throw it to either one of us.
Right.
He said he was like the hardest thrower. We hadn't seen another hard thrower like that till Elway. Is that accurate?
Bradshaw had power.
Yeah.
Okay. Bradshaw was not going to be the most finesse passer in the game. He's not going to throw this sweet little easy to catch swing pass to Rocky and Franco. Remember the pass Rocky caught in the Super Bowl?
Yep.
He throws one high to the outside. Rocky has never jumped that high in his life. He did it one time. Rocky can't, white men can't jump. They did a whole movie about it. I mean, but Rocky jumps up and catches that one pass.
Yep.
He jumps as high as he can. His hands are above his head.
Yep.
You can see him straining. He makes a catch, a touchdown. We couldn't believe Rocky made that catch.
Robert Brazell was
on
here.
the cover of Sports Illustrated for that catch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He told us that was the toughest man he ever went against. Hall of Famer Robert Brazil said that about Rocky Blyer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's accurate?
Yeah, Rocky was a tough dude. I mean, he was in the gym lifting weights before it was ever popular, you know.
Right.
You know, he wasn't the fastest guy. Matter of fact, we played Cleveland one time. It was muddy, and he ran right up the middle, and the line blocked everybody, and it was a big hole in the middle. Rocky looked like that cartoon character who's running and he's going nowhere, and the mud's flying up behind him. You know, and he finally got some traction, and boom, he was gone.
Touchdown,
You know?
right? Yeah. I remember that one. It was like the sea parted.
Oh, yeah.
There was,
There it is.
everything.
You couldn't draw it up any better.
Oh, that's great.
These reunions have to be amazing when you guys get together.
Yeah, well, you know, they're amazing. It's great to come together. The sad part, you know, there's a lot of guys who aren't there. You know, and Mike Webster and, you know, Franco Harris, just to name two. Yeah, obviously, but we're proud of what we did and accomplished in Pittsburgh. We are proud of the team that we put together, that Chuck Noll put together. Proud of the coaching staff. They gave us great game plans and an opportunity to play, opportunity for other players to play that, you know, they might not have gotten elsewhere. Great to have played for a guy like Art Rooney Sr. And the city of Pittsburgh. You know, who had a dream of building a football team in the program, and they kind of languished in the bottom for a lot of years. But perseverance, the right coach, and the right staff. Bill Nunn, Hall of Famer himself, drafting players from historically black colleges and building that program and finding the Joe Greens and L.C. Greenwoods and Ernie Holmes
Who
of the
should
world.
be in the Hall of Fame too? I think LC. That's just me.
I do.
Right?
I do too.
I mean,
yeah.
he gets. And we talk about this all the time. Well, how many are you going to put in
My
from that team?
idea is it's a problem with the progress that they had, and it just seems there's no evidence of this whatsoever. It's just in my mind, it comes a time where we've got these other teams in the league, and we just can't put more and more Pittsburghs. I mean, there are so many guys that we think should be on, and like I said, not being a Steeler fan, sometimes I hear other outside voices say enough is enough. Yeah. But then again, when you're greatness, man, that's the Hall of Greatness, right?
I mean, LC was a phenomenal player on the edge, and Joe and Ernie in the middle.
Yeah,
sure. Just absolutely phenomenal. And so I don't disagree with you. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. You know, we've had some tremendous players, and so I'm grateful that they've recognized so many of the players on our team. But wish they would just, you know, take another look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Heinz Ward comes to mind.
Well,
I mean, I know it's not your team, but I look at it and say, well, you know, it's not the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Fame. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But when great is great, they deserve to be honored, in my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And, you know, Heinz was a phenomenal. I mean, John and I would block as wide receivers, but I thought Heinz Ward was probably the best blocking wide receiver in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the game he played in Detroit, and he was MVP of that game, and deserving that. So, yeah, phenomenal. Glad to see him back in the NFL as an assistant coach at Arizona.
All right. So Donnie said the defense was the reason. I'm sure you're going to say the offense.
Actually, back in football, coaching at Arizona State.
Arizona State. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Donnie likes the defense. You're the offense. Of the teams, the four that won, which was the best team?
Whew. They were all really, really good teams. I think the actual best team didn't get to a Super Bowl. The team of 1976. Franco had the broken ribs. A number of guys were hurt. I think that was our best football team.
And it didn't win.
There's your whole process. That's Kenny's way of thinking. I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
See, that's an
MVP.
Right.
Yeah.
You think that? I mean, should have won it that year. 5 shutouts that season just to get into the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
You play.
You're spoiled. You got 4 of them, man. We haven't even been there.
Oakland with Reggie Harrison having to start, I think, at running back that year because Rocky and Franco were both out and other injuries.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there was a number of things like that, and we didn't get there. Yeah. And then who did they play in the Super Bowl?
Who did Oakland play in the Super Bowl that year? They played Philadelphia. I'm trying to remember.
No, they played the Vikings.
Oh, geez, that would have been a cakewalk. Yeah.
So
16-6 in Super Bowl IX. The only touchdown was on a block Bobby Walton punt. That was it, right?
Yeah.
So it's 5,
right.
out of the.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's John Madden's Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and the rivalry with the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, that was as fierce of a rivalry as there ever has been, right?
It was crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you guys would meet usually that time of the year, and the velocity or the violence and the velocity of those hits was.
Yeah, and you couple that with the fact that we played the Oilers twice a year because they're in our
Bob
division.
Phillips.
That was the most physical football game we played every year.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You went up against Tatum in college and in the pros?
No.
He wasn't at Ohio State when you guys played him?
No.
He was already gone. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
But Randy Gradishar's there.
Randy
He gets in-
Gradishar was there.
He goes in this year. What will be your message to him?
Yeah, he's lucky to go in.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
That's great. Oh, my. And you know what? I think that's a perfect way. We got to get you out of here and end on that.
We didn't even talk about the residency. We'll do this for another 3 hours.
You know what? Let's do that.
Man.
You've been all over town. I've seen the photos and that. How much are you enjoying this residency program?
I'm enjoying it because I think it's something. I don't know who came up with the idea, but it's something the Hall of Fame should be doing.
Okay.
In terms of this is our home, and they talk about Canton becoming your second home as a football player, where you live forever. Your bust is there, but we should be engaged in this community at the same time. Thousands of people volunteer for the Hall of Fame every year to make this program work, to put their stamp on it, and put Canton out there in front of the football world at the beginning of every season. We aspire to be here, and so we should embrace it more. And so I've seen things this week and talked to people in different organizations that I didn't realize were here and were never a part of. And I can already sense that, well, I know, I feel compelled to maybe do some other things. And so I will do those other things and send it around Canton to just show our appreciation for what Canton has done and being the home of professional football and its Hall of Fame.
That's awesome that you agreed to be a part of this. I know a lot of guys wanted to. They're already scheduling for next year because they had so many guys that wanted to be a part of this program. We're happy that in the first year, you're our 7th Hall of Famer, 7 weeks in a row. So we're thrilled to have you in. From the child in me, thank you for the 70s as a kid growing up in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah.
And any athlete knows. I mean, like I say, the respect factor is just off the charts for me. I wanted to be number 88 when I played in high school, but there was a guy ahead of me that had it, so I went to 89. It was close enough.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to be 88.
What'd you want to be?
I was 22 when I came to the Steelers.
Were you a running back?
No, I was a receiver
But
at USC.
You were always a receiver at USC?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they changed the rule.
Couldn't wear it.
They said you couldn't. Your receivers had to be an 80 series number.
Okay.
So when John and I came to Pittsburgh and we made the team, we were both wearing 22 in college, right? And so they said. So Tony Parisi said, "Well, what number do you want to be?" I said, "I don't care. Pick one." He goes, "How about 88? You were double deuces. Now it'd be double 8." I said, "Okay." And then he went to John and said, "Well, John, how about 82? You were 22. Now you'd be 82." Nice. And so he got very diplomatic about the whole thing. And so that's what we did. And so that's why you were the number. So I'm glad it was 88. But and everyone says, likes to believe that maybe they were the best of that series, of that number, and the best 88, the best 32. There's an argument. All kinds of people argue about that.
Oh, yeah.
But the best 88. I think the best 88 in the history of the National Football League was a widely known tight end out of Baltimore.
John Mackey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The greatest number 88 of all time. And the way he played and what he did for that team and how he helped that team grow. I think he is the 88 for all time.
I praise.
And a teammate of yours in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
there you
great.
go.
Lynn Swann, thank you so much for being a part of the Kenny and JT show, coming in with us today. You've got an open invite to come back whenever you're in town. If you've got free time, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah. Will you do a sideline for us at a high school game?
No.
He's retired.
How
from
many
that.
years now, Kenny?
Yeah, this season coming up for us, this will be our 80th consecutive year of doing high school football games in Stark County and here on WHBC.
Great.
80 years.
So in 8 years, come back and do year 88.
88.
Okay.
Maybe then.
You put together your all-time all-star team?
We have
Yearly.
We do a banquet every year, honor them, and then this year we're looking into doing something special for the 80th anniversary season.
Yeah. So how many players out of Canton played in the NFL?
Well, Alan Page. Well, there's a lot that aren't in the ones that are in the Hall of Fame or just played.
In the Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame, Alan Page, Deerdorf,
Lenny Dawson, former Steeler at one point.
Well, Dawson's from Alliance, but we'll count him.
Okay,
Yeah.
Stark
13
County.
miles away, 10 miles away, whatever it is. 3 that come to mind.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
That's
you know,
good.
So so it's
We'd like to get Spielman in there.
I got 2 from my high school.
really.
Yeah.
Who's the other one with you?
Tom Brady.
Really?
Sam Mateo.
San Mateo, Sarah High School.
That
he
is
does.
right.
Yeah.
Holy, well, he's not in yet.
He's not in yet. But
Yeah.
Why
He'll
weren't
be
you
in.
at his roast? Why didn't they have you get
Yeah.
up there and roast him?
Wait, you hear what they're talking about now? About that roast?
Oh, yeah.
That's why.
Okay, you want to stay away from that. Got you on that loud and clear. All right, on that, we'll let you out here. Lynn, thanks so much for coming in with us.
Pleasure.
And
Thank you.
being a part of this residency program.
Not a problem.
Lynn
Thank
Swann, Hall of Famer, number 201, class of 2001, joining us here on the Kenny and JT Show. Back with more after this.
The Roadman and JT on 1480 WHBC.
WHBC AM Ken.